Good. All right, now we're continuing in the Hasidic discourse written by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, spoken by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1981, but given out, distributed in 1992, just shortly before he had a stroke. So this, in fact, was the last discourse that was given out and studied by his pupils. So it's, in a way, it's sort of orders for us to what we should do until the revelation of the Mashiach and the final redemption. It's good. So here we learn that Moses was commanded by God that Moses should command the Jewish people. Moses had to command the Jewish people and tell them, Ata Tetzaveh, you, Moses, command the Jewish people that they should bring to you pure olive oil that is crushed up for the illuminator. And the Rebbe explains all this according to the ideas of Hasidut. In other words, how this is relevant to our service of God now. And what exactly is this oil? And what does it mean it has to be crushed? And why Moses has to take it? Moshe has to take it to himself, and the Jewish people have to bring it to him. Okay, so we say that in every generation that there has to be a Moses. There has to be a Moshe, and the job of this Moshe is to feed the inherent faith that every Jew already has. So that it'll be, so this faith, this emunah in God, which every Jew has, according to the Hasidic teachings, without exception, every Jew has this deep inner awareness that God exists and that God gave the Torah and that there's such a thing as good and bad and that it comes from the Creator of the universe. But the problem is this feeling is not activated in our day-to-day life, in our decision-making process. That when it comes down to what Jewish people want and what they think and what they say and what they do, this feeling of the oneness of God and the fact that God gave the Bible, He gave the Torah, and He's giving the Torah, and the Torah is alive, doesn't play any part. Doesn't play any part. So to the point that there can even be people that Jews that can even totally deny the existence of the Torah or of God or even oppose it. So the job of Moses in every generation is to bring the people back to the awareness of who they really are. What's the godliness which is inside of them, and this guiding force inside of them that tells them, I guess in English it's translated like a conscience. That guiding force that tells them what right and wrong is, and that this right and wrong is according to the Torah. So, like for instance, every Jew wants to keep the Shabbos. Every Jew wants to eat kosher. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the one who wrote this, said, if you don't believe it, go on the streets, take a pair of tefillin, and ask Jews, non-religious Jews, if they want to put on tefillin. And you'll see that, in fact, that they'll agree with you. There'll be some that won't, but there amazingly will be some that will. And even if the ones that do is only 1%, but that 1% is a big miracle. To find a Jew that doesn't apparently believe in God and doesn't do anything religious at all, he doesn't do anything to stop in the middle of the street in public and to do this religious act that takes them 3 minutes or 5 minutes, is a true miracle. There's no logical explanation to it. So that's the job of Moses. The job of Moses is to increase the faith of the Jewish people. And then there's, of course, all people that already do believe in God, but their faith should bring them to feeling love for God, feeling love for every Jew, for feeling love for every human being, for feeling love for every creation of the Creator. It should bring to a person to be as emotional about serving God as he is emotional about losing his money, for instance, or making money. So that's the job of also the job of the Moses of every generation, to increase this faith. But, says the Rebbe, if you really want the true faith to be revealed, it can only be when Jews are crushed. Crushed is in the time of exile. A Jew has to be crushed Take an example, Mordechai. Mordechai was a very great Jew in the time of the miracle of Purim between the first and second temple. And Mordechai encouraged the Jews to reveal their true Jewish nature. But in a way, Achashverosh, the evil king, and Haman, the even more evil, the dictator, anti-Semite, they did more to reveal the Jewish soul than Mordechai did, because they made exile. They made the exile. Come in. Whatever. He's just emptying his pipe, probably. Okay. Good morning. Maybe put something in the door just to keep it open a little, so there's a little bit of air here. Should be air. Air is good. A chair, you can put a chair there. All right, do that. It hurts my eyes. That's okay. We'll do this. The sun just hurts my eyes. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Beautiful Israeli sun. What could be more healthy? Okay. So we said that there's two reasons for the Jewish faith. One reason is that mazleu chazi, that a level of the soul which is called mazal, which is the source of consciousness, awareness, that feels God. And then there's one where the essence of the soul feels God, which is above this level of mazleu chazi. Mazleu chazi is the source of consciousness. But the essence of the soul is way above that. So what is the source of Jewish faith? Both. Mazleu chazi means that a person sees godliness. He sees it clearly. But there's a level higher than that of certainty that God exists, and that's from what's called the essence of the soul. Okay. So where do we get up to? We got up to Vav, right? Yes. So the explanation is like this. Tezeh shemuna, that the Jewish faith, Yisrael, the faith of the Jews, he is, ba'ofen in such a way, shu moser nafsho, that he's willing to give his life, al zandis, who is, be'ikar, mainly, by amunah, in the faith, shemitzah, that comes from etzem and neshama, from the essence of the soul. Like we said, there's two sources of faith, one above the other. The beginning, the most, immediate source of Jewish faith is that a Jew sees God. He sees it. It's somewhere in his soul and he sees God. But there's a deeper source than that. That's called from the essence of his soul. That he certainly feels Hashem. What's the difference? The Rebbe is going to explain. When a person sees God, it could be that he won't be willing to give his life. But that a Jew is willing to give his life, this comes from the level of faith which is from the essence of the soul. Amun, the faith. Mitzad, because of zeh, the fact. Shehu, that he, roa, sees. Mazleu chazi, that he sees godliness. Hagam, even though. Shehi, that it is. Betok of gadol, even though that it's very powerful. Kiyadua, as it's known. Tihit amtut, that the verification, when you try to verify something, shemitzah, that comes from hariya, seeing, he is hit amtut, verification, gedola, great, bioter, the most, right? You say you have $1 million in the bank. Yeah, you talk big. Show me. What's the proof of something? To see it. You own the Empire State Building? Show me. Right? You want to see the papers. I want to see the signatures. You have to see it. When you see something, that's the greatest verification that you can have. If two witnesses come in a Jewish court and they say, we heard screams, we heard yelling, we saw him run out with a bloody knife. The thing they said, but did you actually see him kill the man? said, no, we didn't see him kill, but I mean, it was pretty obvious. No, that's not 100% acceptable. That's what's called circumstantial evidence. Best evidence is when you actually see. If you actually see something happen. If so, a person, when he sees God, we're saying it's possible to see godliness. It's somewhere deep in your soul, but you can see godliness. This verifies that God exists. A person sees godliness. Right? Can't be anything better than that. Says the Rebbe, yes, there can. Because when a person sees godliness, mikol makom, nevertheless, cave and since, she'amunah shelo, that his faith, he is mitzad, because of siba, a reason, mitzad zeh shero'eh, because of this that he sees, ve'eino kashura, and it is not attached, connected, im etzem mitziyuto, it's not connected with his essence of his being. In other words, it's I am seeing, but it's not me. But how does a person know that he's alive? How do you know you're alive? How do you know you're here? Because you see, you look in the mirror, you can see. You don't have to look in the mirror to see you. A blind person also knows that he exists. A blind, God forbid, a blind person, a deaf person, they know that they exist. How do they know that they exist? They feel it. The same thing. Seeing godliness, even if you see it in the most vivid way, seeing godliness, and even if it's not, we're not talking about physical seeing. We're talking about seeing with your soul. Like, you remember where we got this thing about seeing God? Do you remember where we got it from? Where do we think? Where did they get this in? The Mazlehu Chazi. It was Daniel. Daniel, the one that was in the lion's den. So Daniel it says he was walking with his three whatever their pupils, his three friends. What was his name? Mishael. I forget their names. Azariah. Well, Azariah. It slips my mind. I can't remember. The Goyish king called them. Anyway, I'll remember in a second. So he was walking with his three friends. It's in the Gemara. They're walking with the three friends. And all of a sudden, it says they saw a vision of godliness. And they fell down. His friends fell down in great fear. And Daniel was the only one that could keep standing up. So it says that shows that Daniel's superiority. It says that he saw and they didn't see. So the Gemara says if they didn't see, then what did they fall down for? It says they didn't see, but their mazel saw. Mazlehu chazi. Mishal, Hananiah, and Azariah. Hananiah, Mishal, Azariah. That they didn't see, but their mazel saw. So it says the essence of their soul saw godliness. So it's possible a person can see godliness to the point where he actually falls down. They were filled with awe and fear. But nevertheless, cave and since, she'amunah shelo, since that his faith, this faith and this seeing of God causes faith. So if so, his faith, he is mitzad because of siba, a reason. You can put it sideways if you want. Sideways also. Because of a reason. Mitzad zeh shero, and it was because he sees godliness. Here's your paper. Because he sees godliness, therefore he believes. The eino kashur, it's not attached im etzem mitziyoso. It's not attached with the essence of his being. So therefore, eino mukhrach, it's not necessary, sheyimsor nafsho, that he will give his life. I think that's the papers there. Sheyimsor nafsho, that he will give his life al zeh, on this. Why would a person be willing to give his life for godliness? Why would he be willing to give his life for God? Doesn't make any sense. Why would you give your life for Hashem? What's the point? I mean, you're not going to get anything from it. But the idea is that a person feels that what's myself? Myself is such a valuable thing, myself. Suddenly he feels that myself is just an extension from Hashem. My being only comes from Hashem's being. Right? That's Hashem's name, Yud. And then Hey Vav Hey means, Hey Vav Hey is Toveh, to be. And God is just creating all being all the time. A person feels this as he feels that my whole being is just coming from the being of Hashem. If so it's not, I'm not giving my soul. It's not my soul. It doesn't belong to me. It's Hashem. But this doesn't come from seeing. If a person sees godliness, so it's almost like two different things. There's a God and I see God. So there's I and there's seeing Hashem. So Hashem is greater than me, is more important than me, but there still is me. From the essence of the soul, there's no me. All there is just the oneness of Hashem. That's all he feels. That Hashem exists is the only existence. That's what it means. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Echad. God is one. God is one doesn't mean that there's only one God. Right? But there's a world and there's planets and there's angels. And God is one means that all there is God. The whole world that we see is just a creation. It's just, it becomes transparent. Right? It's transparent. You can suddenly see through it and see that all there is Hashem. How this is, I don't know. I've never experienced it, but the Rebbe says that there is such a thing. Or maybe I have. Maybe every Jew experiences it once in a while. They just feel that, I'm really nothing. It's not I'm really nothing. All there is Hashem. There's no I to be nothing. Seeing God is like that. Is I am nothing. I am surrendered to God. I am connected to God. There's still an I. But this level of the essence of the soul, he feels all there is God. All there is Hashem. And I'm just this miraculous creation that Hashem is creating me every second from absolutely nothing. He feels it. So it says, therefore, because seeing God, this is the source of his belief, this is the source of his belief, therefore it's not necessary that he'll give his life because he sees God. But this, that the faith, the Israel of the Jews, he is ba'ofen in such a way, shehu, that he will, moser nafsho, that he's willing to give his life, al zeh, for this, who is mipnei, because she'emunah, the faith, be'elokus, and Hashem, he is etzem shalo, this is his essence. Therefore, efshar, it is impossible, kalal at all, shiachfor, that he will deny, chas v'shalom, that he will deny God. It's impossible that he will deny Hashem, because, why? Who am I to deny Hashem? All there is Hashem. If I deny Hashem, then I'm making myself into this false something. Right? There's something that doesn't really exist. It's false. It's like a person become whatever it is. There's con men, these people who are fakers, right? And they pretend that they really own the Brooklyn Bridge and that and they get away with it. But a problem with these people is, in the end, they start really having this identity. They just become a trickster. They can't tell the truth. They don't know what the truth is. It ends up that they become all confused because they made up this false reality. The same thing when a person really feels the oneness of Hashem, as he's going to say, I deny Hashem. This I that I made up, of course I can fake it. I can make a false identity of myself. I can do it if I want to. But why would I want to do a thing like that? Why would I want to? I feel the oneness of God. He feels that the real existence, if I thought that I was important beforehand, my egotism was big. A person feels himself, right? All of a sudden he feels Hashem is infinitely more real than I am. In fact, all of my reality is just a creation of God. He feels this is a nice thing we can say, but the person to feel this, says the Rebbe, that's what every Jew feels before he gives his life for God. And we're not talking about a person who's willing to go into a restaurant and blow himself up for the sake of Allah or something, he's going to go to heaven. We're not talking about the person who does it for himself. He does it so he can get a bigger reward. And we're not even talking about these people who go in and they fight battles because they're doing it for the sake of liberty and for justice and for this and that. They get swept up in the crowd. We're talking about that a person is connected to Hashem, that all Hashem wants is that the world should be built, should be made, created, right? To give his life for God is the opposite of everything that God stands for. God is the creator. He gives life. He gives all the time. Right? Why would a person want to give his life for Hashem? Because it's an unusual situation. He realizes that this is what's being demanded of him in this situation, and he can't do anything otherwise. He can't do anything otherwise. Right? All of a sudden, the communists say, deny your connection to God. He's not going to deny it. Right? Or they tie him up to a stake in the Inquisition, and they say, deny that you're a Jew. He says, of course I'll deny that I'm a Jew. I don't want to get burnt. Shema Yisrael, Hashem. He can't do it. Something wakes up in him, and he just, all of a sudden, his whole identity, his real identity, he realizes that the whole time he's been living this false identity, worrying about the future and think about the past. What about right now? Who am I really? Suddenly he realizes who he really is. He doesn't think about what's going to be tomorrow. Every second is brand new. Alpiz, according to this, Yesh Leveir, we can explain, Mashikatuv, that what it says in the Maamar, Dezesh Moshe, that which Moses, who Rayam is the shepherd of faith, namely Shahu, that he, Zan, feeds, Umafarnes, and provides for, Et Emuna, the faith, who is Benogea, relating to Roy Yisrael, the shepherds of the Jews, Shebakal Dor, and every generation. Of every single generation. Turn the page over. We're on the other side of the page. I don't think we have the right page. No, you're not on the right page. I don't know where you are. Where are you? You're on the wrong page. Totally wrong page. We're on the next page. On the next page. Page Reish Pei Base. There we go. What? Relevant. Relevant. What? So you have the wrong Maamar. What is this? Yeah, it's the wrong Maamar. Reish Pei Base, that's the other page? Es Pashtusa. What did you ask, Akiva? Relevant too. Relevant. So, the Rebbe explains that there must be in every generation, because this is such an essential ingredient in Judaism, that there has to be a Moses, a Moshe, there has to be in every generation. Because the whole essence of what a Jew is belief in God and in God's Torah. But feeling this, not just believing in an intellectual way or a logical way, but in a totally above logic, totally above intellect way. The same way that you feel that you yourself exist, is not based on intellect or logic, it's just a feeling. This is the same feeling that Moshe is supposed to arouse in the Jewish people. It's called emunah. So therefore there has to be, as long as they're Jewish people, there has to be a Moses, a Moshe, that's inspiring them. Or espashtusa, the branch or the representative, spreading out, the Moshe Shebakal Dor of every generation. Every generation has to have a Moshe. And without Moshe, what is the generation? What are the Jewish people without Moshe? It says there's what is in Parshas Pinchas. It says that there has to be a Moshe in every generation, because if not, the Jewish people will be like sheep without a shepherd. That's the example he gets. It's ketzon b'li roeh. The Jewish people will be like a sheep without a shepherd. Sheep without a. Have you ever seen a flock of sheep without a shepherd? No such thing. It does not exist. There's no such thing as a flock of sheep that doesn't have a shepherd. If there's a flock of sheep, there has to be a shepherd somewhere around. It has to be somewhere nearby. As soon as the shepherd goes away, then unless you catch the sheep, you catch the sheep like maybe an hour after he leaves or 2 hours. But as soon as the shepherd leaves, then the sheep start. Every sheep does what he wants to. Every sheep for himself, and they go wandering around and they get run over by trucks and fall over cliffs and get eaten up by wolves and they starve to death. And who knows what they do? Sheeps. There's no such thing as far as I know, as wild flocks of sheep. Ever say flocks of sheep? I don't know if there is. Maybe there's the mountain goats and things like that. Right? But they don't. Right? Sheep don't. Why? It says that's the same thing. Jewish people, if they don't have a Moshe, so they don't stay together. They get trampled and run over cars. What? Spiritually. Spiritually they would get run over. This guy denies that the Torah exists. This guy says maybe only one commandment exists. This guy says that there's no such thing as Judaism. This guy says that it's a mitzvah to do sins, that there is no sins. Right? There's Reconstructionist Judaism and Reform Judaism and Conservative Judaism, and there's Jews that leave Judaism totally. There's Jews for idolatry, Jews for they go for idolatry. Jews, totally communist Jews, right? That they're totally against Judaism. And there's socialist Jews, but they all say they're all Jews, right? They're all the Jews. I even read a thing I told you about from this guy Trotsky. Trotsky was a big one of the fathers of communism, and he was a super atheist, right? But he wrote about that he's Jewish, and he couldn't get it, and it was a bad thing to be Jewish. It was a bad thing to be Jewish in communism. That was one of the reasons that they were able to get him. That Stalin made this whole program against Trotsky because he was a Jew, and the Jews can never be trusted, and Jews are always bloodsuckers, and Jews, of course, Stalin was a great person. He was the most kind person in the world. He killed like 100 million people, Stalin. But still, Trotsky, the fact is, wasn't much better. I mean, if he would have been the leader, who knows if he would have been, I don't know if you can get to the levels of perversion and paranoia that Stalin reached. I don't know if you can, but Trotsky was a pretty bad guy when it came down to it. He was a pretty bad guy. But still, he admitted he was a Jew, and he knew his Jewish identity. He was a Jew, right? He was a Jew. Huh? They killed him. He got threw him out. They killed him. In Mexico, he was assassinated here. He was assassinated. But Stalin, and he was a genius. He knew 10 languages fluently, and he was a genius in history and in psychology. All that. This one was just a tremendously talented person and full of energy and devotion to his cause and everything like that. But totally anti-Semite, totally anti-everything. But he was a Jew. He admitted he was a Jew. Right? He was a Jew. So it is. But so every Jew has this. They've got it deep inside. But the idea is does it work? Does it affect your day-to-day life? That's why you have to have a Moshe. If you don't have a Moshe, or people go away from Moshe, so they get all these strange, bizarre ideas about what Judaism is. And you can see even with Chabad, people are against Chabad, but then afterwards people start doing the same thing that Chabad does, right? And in the beginning, when Chabad had this thing of, makariving Jews, bringing Jews to making Chabad on campus and bringing Jews back, everybody was against them. They said, it's mamash, you're destroying the Torah and you're belittling the Torah and you're taking people and making them bittul Torah. People should, instead of going out in the streets and putting out the film, you should be learning Torah. And now there's whole big organizations from every group. There's a competition. Who can have the most Bali Chuvas? And tremendous competition. Unfortunately, we really feel it. There's tremendous competition. Who can get the most Bali Chuvas? And the same thing that they said with Chabad was forbidden to do. Right now, everybody does. Singing used to be even singing, being happy. Being happy. There were some groups that said you can't be happy. Right? Already have to encourage happiness. That's a question. Right? Now other groups they're being happy. There's songs. They're singing. They have their shira, their songs, their nigunim, whatever. Even learning Hasidus. Even the teachings of Hasidut. Now everybody has some sort of the deeper philosophies. They use the ideas of Chabad. They don't say it's in the name of the Rebbe, right? I heard the people saying there's the fifth son at the, Rabbi Zundel said there's the fifth son at the night of the Seder. When did this Rabbi? Who was this Rabbi Zundel? No, it was Rabbi, some other person. He said it. The guy of Slobodka. When did he say this thing? When did he say? 20. He said it 20 years ago. I'll show you a sikha from the Rebbe that he said it 60 years ago. The fifth son, right? At the night of the Seder Pesach. So it says that's the idea of the Moses of every generation. The Moses of every generation, his job is to make Jews crazy. His job is to make Jews see that Judaism is not normal. On the other hand, Judaism is the most normal thing in the world. Our purpose is to build the world and to make a world and to be doctors and to be lawyers and this. But inside, you're only connected to Hashem. You're not reacting to the world like any normal person reacts to the world. That these Jews, and what's their main thing? They strengthen as emunah, the faith, the Israel of the Jewish people. Sheya'amdu, that they will stand b'mesirut nefesh. The Jewish people will have self-sacrifice b'kiyum haTorah v'mitzvahs, and doing Torah and mitzvahs. Now, self-sacrifice means you're not even thinking about going to heaven. Thinking about going to heaven means you're doing it for yourself. Self-sacrifice means you're not thinking about yourself when you do the commandments. You're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about how good Hashem is and how good the commandments are and what type of a blessing you're going to bring to the world and how you're benefiting all mankind. But you're not thinking about yourself when you do the commandment. You're just happy that you have a chance that you can do what Hashem wants. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu strengthens, that people really feel Hashem. L'cheora, at first glance, Moshe, that which Moses. Zan feeds umafarnes and provides for. At the Emunah provides the faith of the Jewish people, that what he increases and strengthens the faith and feeds the faith of the Jewish people. Kamavur, like it's explained by Kama Makomos in many places. V'gam, and also b'Maamar Ze'atzmo, and also in this Maamar of the previous Rebbe, this Maamar of the Rebbe is just explaining a Maamar, a discourse of the previous Rebbe that he said in 1927. Al Yedei, by means of Shemashpia. How does Moses strengthen the faith of the Jewish people? She mashpia, that he teaches, or that he gives the Israel to the Jewish people, das, awareness, connection, be'elokus, by God, to Hashem. He teaches the Jewish people to be more aware of what God is. She'al yedei, that by means of this, bo comes ho'emunah, faith, be'penimius, in the inside. When you really feel that Hashem is really creating everything, then it starts to really affect your day-to-day life. Right? It's a little bit harder to be angry and to have all sorts of desires. You're able to stop yourself when you do egotistical things. It comes in panemius, into your day-to-day life. V'zeh, this, Sharoi Yisrael, that the shepherds of Israel, the shepherds of the Jewish people, shall be called door of every generation. Mechazkim, strengthen. Ha'emunah, that which they strengthen, the faith or the awareness of God. Hamavur b'Maamar, which is explained in that Maamar, and we explain here, who is She'emunah d'Yisrael, that the faith, it'll be in such a way that the Jewish faith will be ba'ofen, in such a way of Mesiras Nefesh. It'll be in a way of self-sacrifice. And it is not just that you have faith in God and so you put on tefillin, that's good. And you keep the Shabbos and you do the commandments and you sit and learn Torah. These are wonderful things. This is very good. But for that, you don't need Moses. Some people, by their nature, they're religious people. By their nature, they like religion, they like organization, they like friendship. You can go to these lectures. There's these groups in Israel. They make lectures, seminars about how worthwhile it is to do Torah mitzvahs. How worthwhile. They have charts. And it is worthwhile to do Torah mitzvahs. It says that if you do my commandments, I'll give you